Hello, my fellow bookish lovers. How are we today? I am doing pretty well. Today's Tuesday, but I just got back from Austin on Sunday. We went for a little weekend trip. We live about 3 hours away from Austin. We went for a little bit of a weekend trip, and the reason we went was because we got tickets to the mothership, the comedy mothership, which was Joe Rogan's comedy club he started in Austin when he moved there a couple years back. We've been really wanting to go, but we just haven't had the time, and finally we made the time. And someone that we knew was coming to the comedy mothership, so we were like, let's do it. And yeah, so we got tickets for the 10 o'clock showing of the Saturday night Ari Shaffir show. If you're a fan of comedy, you might know who Ari Shaffir is, so you might love him, or you very well might hate him. But we fall in the land of we think he's hilarious, so we went. And this was both of our first experience at the comedy mothership. Or no, I'm sorry, that too, but also just a comedy club. We've never experienced something like that. Usually this is time for big artists or even smaller artists to work on their craft, work on their show, work on their stand-up. We went to what is called, we think, Fat Joe room, the bigger of the two rooms. And so we knew we were getting into like a kind of refined show, one that wasn't going to leave us feeling awkward. So that was a positive, but we had a great time. And yeah, I might put some pictures up and stuff, because when I looked fierce, I slayed. I felt like a baddie, looked like a baddie, and that was a great time. We had some really good margaritas, and of course, you know, we had some food because we are foodies up in here, and it was delicious. But that was not what today's video is all about, so let's get into it. Today, I thought it would be fun. I know I'm kind of like late to this trend, but I don't care. Here I am, you know, it is literally January 30th. So the end of the month, we're here, we're circling back. I want to go over what I read in 2023 because it wasn't a lot, I told you that. But I read some goodies, and it will kind of, yeah, it will kind of be fun, and it'll also kind of get us through what I've been doing in the past year. I thought about this after I filmed last video. It actually has been 2 years, about 2 years, maybe a year and a half since I've seen you last, since that last video. So yeah, it's been a while. That's okay, because I'm back and I think I'm feeling better than ever. So I'm gonna go through my 2023, what I read, and said that backwards, but we're gonna keep it going. And yeah, it's not a lot, if I'm being honest. I did not have a good reading year. I read 14 books. You know, your girl, she tried. She tried. She did not accomplish, but she definitely tried, okay? Anywho, let's get to it, shall we? Okay, so the first book, a lot of these books I don't actually own the copies of. I love a library, you know? I love a library. I'm back, but I did decide to grab a little coffee and some cotton candy grapes. Have you guys ever had these? I love them. Watch these. I haven't tried these specific brand, but why do they taste just like cotton candy grapes? Why are they what they say they are? It's so good. I love them. They're so good. Yeah, so if you haven't had those, go find them, enjoy them. You're welcome. So yeah, I got my little latte, and we're gonna get into this. I'll just pop the books up over here. Up over here or up over there, depending on where I feel like doing it. Let's start. The first book I read in 2023 was What Moves the Dark by T.Kingfisher. I'm pretty sure I said her name right. Yeah. So, looking back on this book, this one was basically about a retired soldier. He gets word from a childhood friend that she's dying and she needs some help. So they go, or he goes, and let me tell you, we are then enfolded into a very creepy house setting, a very dark gothic fungal kind of story. And yeah, I rated this one 4 stars. I read this one in January, rated it 4 stars. So it was my first book of the month, or of the year, like I said, and I read it in January and I loved it. I loved this book. I think that I love a gothic house story book, but I specifically love the mushroom aspects of gothic stories. I am someone who is low-key obsessed with mushrooms, the way they look, how weird they are, how fascinating and unique, and how much we truly don't know about mushrooms. It gets me and I love it. And yeah, so I loved this book and I will continue to read books that are like this in the future. 4 stars for that. If you like fungus, if you like gothic, and if you like a little bit of a what the fuck, this is a book you might really enjoy. On to the next one. The next book I read was one that I do own, and it is Galveston's Red Light District, A History of the Line. Now, this one was written by Kimber Fountain. This is a nonfiction book, and it is... Okay, so I mentioned this in my past video about my podcast, and it was one of the books that I bought on my birthday trip, and I bought it on a birthday trip to Galveston. They have a very spicy history, and this book goes into the history of the line, which was what they called the Red Light District in Galveston. So, known today as a colorful resort destination featuring family entertainment and thriving art district, Galveston was once notorious for its flourishing vice economy and infamous red light district, called simply the Line. And yeah, wow. So I read this one in April, and I gave it a 5-star. I probably will give every historical book I read a 5-star because I truly love learning about that history. The only way it could go not 5 stars is if it's written horribly or not factual or just shading the ladies, because there are some stories out there that's what they do. They're shading their work, they're shading them, and they're making them be victims when a lot of them were not. So I do try to do a lot of research on a book before I get something like that, because I really don't want to read something like that and I will probably DNF it. And yeah, but this one was amazing. It's written by a woman who grew up in Galveston, understands the history. She still lives there. She puts on tours, and I loved it. I loved the story, and yeah. Would I recommend it? I just want to let you know, hell yeah, I would. This one specifically is very good, like very well written, very entertaining, and feels less like a textbook, where some of them can feel very textbooky. This one was great. I highly recommend it if it's something you would enjoy. I will also link the podcast that I wrote using this source down below. So if you want to check that out, you should. It's a series, actually. Okay, so the next one up that I read was The Shadows by Alex North. And I read this one in April, and this one is, let's see, what can I tell you about the Whisper Man? Okay. I said the Whisper Man, that's not this book, The Shadows. You knew a teenager like Charlie Crabtree, a dark, imaginative, and sinister smile, always on the outside of the group. Some part of you suspected he might be capable of doing something awful. 25 years ago, Crabtree did just that, committing a murder so shocking that it attracted the strange kind of infame that only exists on the darkest corners of the internet, inspired more than one copycat. So this one I gave 3 stars. I found it very middle of the road for horror, and yeah, I don't know, maybe I found through this journey that I'm actually quite hard on my horror books. It was not my favorite, I guess. Well, it wasn't my favorite, but I didn't hate it. 3 stars is like, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like, wow, this is one of my faves, you know? 3 stars is a very common rating for me, actually. So, yeah. That's how I felt about it. You may very much enjoy it, and you might also enjoy where the story takes you, where with my horror, if I don't know, okay, I don't think this is spoilery in any way, plus this book has been out for a while, so if you don't want to hear this part, skip ahead, but it has a certain kind of paranormal or like otherworldly element to it. And when it comes to horror, that's not what, unless I am specifically getting into a haunting book or a demon book or whatever, when I think I'm getting into a true crime book and get paranormal, I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't love it. Sorry. So yeah, that's probably why I didn't love this one that much. All right, on to the next one. Number, what, 4? We're getting there. The London Science Society. And so this one is by Sarah Pinner, and this is a historical fiction mystery type book, and it is about in 1873. Wow, let me take a sip. She deserves a sip after that. In 1873, at an abandoned chateau on outskirts of Paris, a dark seance is about to take place. Led by an acclaimed spiritualist, Vaudelaine de Alaria. Don't come for me about names, okay? Known worldwide for her talent in conjuring the spirits of murder victims. To try to find the identities of the people who killed them, she's highly sought after by widows and investigators alike. And well, let me tell you, I absolutely adored this book. I gave it 5 stars. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. It was fun, it was entertaining, and it was exactly what I needed. I read it in May, and it made me giggle, it made me, and it's, yeah, even though I kind of saw the twist coming, I did, kind of, a little bit. I didn't mind it. It kept me entertained the whole time. And yeah, I really loved this one. So you should check it out if you haven't already. Moving on to book 5 that I read in June. This is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. And let me tell you, I read a lot of Riley Sager this year, or I'm sorry, last year. And I realized he and I have a very weird dynamic relationship when it comes to reading his books, because I almost DNF'd this book. I thought I did DNF this book for a couple months, to be honest, and I did not think I was going to come back to it because at first I thought it was a very boring book. And then I realized doing the research on this oh my gosh, doing this research on this video, I realized that's kind of how I feel about the beginning of most of Riley Sager's books. And then they come out swinging towards the end, and okay, I'm like, oh, I get it. And that's why I will continue to always read Riley Sager. So I'm glad I picked this one back up and continued to read it, because I ended up giving it a 4 stars. And technically I gave it a 3.5 rounded up, but that's still 4 stars in my book. Read this, and this is what I had to say about it back then. I DNF'd this book a good couple months ago because it started off pretty slow and boring. Glad I picked it back up to finish it. The twists and plots are pretty unique and weird. And it also contradicts everything I said in the talking about Alex North's book. And so if you haven't read this one, I suggest giving it a try. Even if the beginning part is boring, when it gets to when it starts getting you, it's very good. So what is this book about? Basically, we're following Casey Fletcher. She is recently widowed actress trying to escape a streak of bad press, has retreated to the peace and quiet of her family's lake house in Vermont. Armed with a pair of binoculars and several bottles of liquor, she passes the time watching Tom and Catherine Royce, the glamorous couple who live in the house across the lake. They make for good viewing. A tech introvert, Tom, is a rich and a formal model. Catherine is gorgeous. One day on the lake, Cassie saves Catherine from drowning, and the two strike up a budding friendship. It is very good. At first, like I said, it is a lot of her just spying on her neighbor. And listen, I love a good people watching session. So this was something I would truly do, and it's not a lie. But I would not do it blackout drunk every single night. And does she have reason to be blackout drunk every single night? Yeah. Should she be blackout drunk every single night? No. So, yeah. That's how I felt. That's how I felt. Girl, that's how you felt. Okay. The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I gave 4 stars. If you haven't already, you should check it out. Next up is number 6, The Invention of Sound by Chuck Palahniuk, I think is how you say his name. This one is a horror fiction and kind of a thriller as well. A father searching for his missing daughter is suddenly given hope when a major clue is discovered, but learning the truth could shatter the seemingly perfect image Hollywood is desperate to uphold. This one is a, you're following two, like a, it's not a dual timeline, I think that's wrong, but you're following 2 people, 2 parts of this book, and they're quite different and on quite different journeys, but somehow their journeys connect. And yeah, what did I think about this book? Let's go down and see. I gave this one 2.5, rounded up to 3, and this is what I had to say about it back in June. Well, okay then. Do I fully understand what I just read? No. Do I think this specific horror genre was for me? Also no. However, do I believe it's for someone? Hell yes. I can see why this has mixed reviews. Glad I read it. So this is by the same author who wrote Fight Club. So if you've seen that movie or read that book, you kind of understand that this is going to be a weird fucking book. And it was weird. It was weird. And I actually was recommended this book by just a random customer I saw reading it. I saw him reading it. I asked him about it. He told me about it. I realized it was a horror book I'd never heard of. And I went and got it from the library that day. Picked it up, started reading it, and was like, what the fuck? And it really was a what the fuck moment, but I am glad I read it. So on to number what, 6? Sorry, 7? Yes, on to 7. We read A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay, and I read this one back in June as well. This one is a horror fiction thriller as well. The lives of the Burdett's, a normal suburb New England family, are torn apart when 14-year-old Marjorie begins to display signs of acute schizophrenia. schizophrenia. Okay, what did I think about this book? It's weird because I actually just amended this, well, okay, I gave it 3 stars. And I think that could have been a little mean of me, if I'm being honest, because I had very mixed feelings about this book because I did enjoy the plot of the book, but the entire cast of characters were insufferable and unlikable, and I was like, what in the absolute fuck? These people probably... yeah, they were the worst, and the whole time I was just like, damn, do I feel for Missy, the daughter who starts displaying signs of schizophrenia. I don't want to give the plot away too much because it's actually very interesting, and if you can get past the annoying fucking family and the people that family bring in, you would probably really like this. And that's why I did really like it, but I can't give it a 4 stars because the characters, oh my god, they pissed me off. They pissed me off so much. I struggled getting through some of this book because of how bad. I was like, I hate y'all. I hate y'all so much. The favorite person was the girl who was having a mental breakdown. So, and can you even, it's not even considered a mental breakdown, but like kind of was. Anyways, that's how I feel about that book. And let's move on to number 8. Another Riley Sager, At Lock Every Door. Okay, so this one is also a thriller. Oh, well, I guess it's not a horror book. It's a thriller mystery mostly. No visitors, no nights spent away from the apartment, no disturbing the other residents, all of whom are rich and famous or both. These are the only rules for Jules Larson's new job as an apartment sitter at the Bellamy, one of Manhattan's most high-profile and mysterious buildings. Recently heartbroken and just plain broke, Jules is taken in by the splendor of her surroundings and accepts the terms, ready to leave her past life behind her. Okay, so the premise of this one sounds interesting. It gets me, and I was like, okay, let's get into it. I gave this one 3 stars. I read it in July, and I, like I said, almost DNF'd it a few times. I just didn't, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what? It was weird. It was weird. But then when it came together, the last like couple chapters, it was like, holy shit. I get it. I get why it's weird. I get what's happening. And yeah, so now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have gone, no. 3 stars is good for me. Yeah, that feels right. Out of all the Riley Sagers, this one that I read, this one is by far my least favorite so far. I haven't read all of his, but out of the ones I read last year, this one's my least favorite. And so, yeah, I mean, I see why a lot of people love this one though. I do get it. It just wasn't my Riley Sager. But like I said, I'm a stan for Riley Sager, so I will continue to read his books. Why did I say continued that high-pitched? I have no idea. Okay, on to number 9 with another Riley Sager, The Last Time I Lied. And this one was I read this one in July. And let's see, this one is a thriller mystery as well. 15 years ago, summer camper Emma Davis watched sleepily as her 3 cabin mates snuck out of their cabin in the dead of night. The last she and anyone saw of them was Vivian closing the cabin door behind her, hushing Emma with a finger pressed to her lip. Okay, so I gave this one 5 stars. I loved this one. This one I ate up. I ate it up, okay? I sure did. And my review says 2 truths and a lie. 1, this book will take you on a twisted journey. 2, the ending will shock you. 3, you'll hate it. And so yeah, this one was really good. If you had not read The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager, I highly suggest you check it out. It was my type of Riley Sager, I will say. And on to number 10, which is, oh, yes, okay. This one is Madam Bessie Jones, Her Life and Times. So this one is another nonfiction, like history nonfiction, and I picked this one up after my trip to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. We went because my boyfriend, he got sent there for work for a week. I happened to be able to get the week off, and I go there to Carlisle because Carlisle is very historical and amazing, and I learned about Bessie. So of course, when I learned about her, because she's a madam, I had to pick up her book, and this one is by this one is by J.M. West. And like I said, most historical books I'm gonna probably give 5 stars. This one is no different. I gave it 5 stars, and this is what I wrote about it after I finished it in July. July was my best reading month, apparently. As someone who has a love and fascination for the historical ladies of the evening, Madam Bessie Jones's story is interesting, but damn, did the justice system do her dirty multiple times. So annoyed that her murder will go forever unsolved when the evidence was there. Fantastically written. Oh, and then I just go on to plug my podcast. So I did an episode about Bessie Jones on my podcast, paying for it. I will link that also down below, and I hope you check it out because her story is truly interesting. It hits not only historical vibes, sex work vibes, and also true crime vibes. So if you're into any of that, I highly suggest you either read this book and or listen to the podcast. So yeah, 5-star read there. And moving on to book number 11, which is The Last Graduate by Naomi Novak. This is the second in the Schoolermance, I think is how you say it, series. At Schoolermance, Orion and the other students are faced with their final year and the looming spectacle of graduation, a deadly ritual that leaves few students alive in its wake. Elle is determined that her chosen group will survive, but it is a prospect that is looking harder by the day as the savagery of the school ramps up, until Elle realizes that sometimes winning the game means throwing out all the rules. This is a fantasy young adults. I started this series in 2022, and what did I think about it? I gave this one a 4 stars. I read it in September and I loved it. I mean, I love this series so far, but for some reason, I don't know if I want to finish it. And that feels very weird because I'm pretty sure I've rated the first in the series a 4-star as well, maybe even a 5-star. I really enjoyed them. I enjoyed this book. Then I actually got some spoilers online and realized that the end of the series doesn't go where I want it to go. So I'm like, what do I do? Do I continue to read this series? I don't know. Let me know. What do you think? Should I just do it? There's one more, I think. So silly not to finish the series. I might have to finish it. We'll see. We'll see what I feel like soon enough. But I did go like a year or like at least 6 months between the books. So I might do that again and see how I feel about picking up the series. Let's keep it moving. On to number 12. This was The Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Matherger. I don't know how to say her last name. This is the first to this series, and listen, this was trash. This was trash, but did I eat it up? Yes, I did. This is her first book. She got a pop off. She's like a TikTok book artist, like book person, I don't know. But I read it. It was trash. It was trash. But did I enjoy it? Yes. So I gave it 3 stars, and that's what I'm saying about that. let's keep it moving. On to number 13. 2 more to go. That is going to be Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Targosk. I know that's wrong. So this one is a fiction mystery, and it's written originally in Polish, I believe. So in a remote Polish village, Janani devotes the dark winter days to studying astrology. Why did I say it? What? Astrology, translating the poetry of William Blake, and taking care of summer homes of wealthy Warsaw residents. Okay, so that is just like the first sentence of the summary, because this is also a whodunit kind of thing. And I gave this a 4 stars. I read this in November and I absolutely loved it. If you're an animal lover, you probably will love it. If you like a whodunit mystery with an interesting twist, you also probably will love it. But I will let you know that our main character, she's cranky, she's grumpy, and she's hard to take at times. Alright, let's move on to the last book that I read in 2023, shall we? And number 14 is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. Food critic Dorothy Daniels loves what she does. Dorothy clearly discerning, meticulous, and very, very smart. Dorothy's clearly mastery of the culinary arts, making it likely that she could, on any given night, whip up a more inspired dish than any one of the chefs she writes about. Dorothy loves sex just as much as she loves food. And while she has struggled to find long-term partners that can keep up with her, she makes the best of her single life, frequently traveling from Manhattan to Italy to taste of both. And so this is a horror fiction thriller. And what did I think of this one? This one I read in December. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it, and wow, when it comes to horror, this one was brutal. I was surprised by how graphic this one went, but I should have expected it knowing where the story was going. If you like severe descriptions of delicious food and also severe descriptions of horrific murders, you probably will like A Certain Hunger. And I recommend you checking it out. It was very good, and it was a good one to wrap up the year. But this year I promised to do better about my reading because I'm feeling alive again. So there is that. Anyways, that, my friends, is what I read in the year 2023. Let me know if you read anything that I did, or let me know if you felt differently about any of the books I read, or if you have any suggestions that go along with these books. I'd love to hear it down below. And like I said, if you're interested in listening to any of my podcasts, I will link some episodes down below so that you can check them out very easily. And until next time, my friends, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.